Welcome back to the SMITE Console League presented by Skillshot. I'm Tom Battinger, otherwise known as F-Dot.
Margarita Tom?
Yeah, that.
Yeah.
I will take Margarita Tom over SMITE Rap Guy.
I gotta say, that was the longest few minutes of my life. And I think we should play this every single day you're on broadcast.
Listen, y'all can make jokes. I crushed it. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
You know what my favorite part was?
Where you said smite 'em all?
No, I never said smite 'em all. That was
Did you
Isaiah.
not? Oh.
No, where I go. Morgan. That was fun.
Yeah?
Said the Morgan like a robot.
Cool.
In my brain, Morgan's a robot. I don't know why. Like the three-eyed raven type deal. I don't know.
Ah, gotcha.
I'm a robot.
I wish the three-eyed raven visited me to let me know that was going to be a thing so I could avoid it to the best of my ability. But I'm glad you all enjoyed it at home because I enjoyed watching Tom Square. And I actually felt uncomfortable for I felt bad for you.
Did you?
And I don't do that no more.
What's the word? Schadenfreude?
What?
Schadenfreude?
Yeah.
That's the German word for when you feel embarrassed on behalf of somebody else.
Oh, no, I never learned that.
Well, now you did.
Is that what I did? Oh, no. I got Germaned.
Well, oh well.
Yeah.
From Germany to North America, the standings today for Xbox as we round out our day. Hype Unit is up on top, and they're looking to stay that way.
Yeah, doing a very good job of smiting them all so far. Heat Uprise, however, right behind them. It's just a game difference between the two.
It certainly
Well,
is.
two games difference.
Yeah, exactly. And so, should Hype Unit lose this one to Sanguine, they will fall down. And that would be pretty rough. Heat Uprise would find themselves up on top, as they do in nature. But right now, it is Hype Unit, and they're looking to stay that way. Should they win this one, they'll be 7-2-7, and blah, blah, blah. So they'll stay up at number one. Basically what I'm saying is, this is a very important game for Hype.
It is, and I actually do think North American console is actually really competitive. The top three teams there. One night Erlang slipped off and not really found the form. The rest of the teams, though, were very competitive. And, the Sanguine roster here with Bobby and Truancii and Mr. Teep on this, you can't really go wrong. They're not a bad squad. They have a chance to win.
Yes, they certainly have a chance to win. Whether or not they can all come to land is a different story. But there's a nice little knock up there from JTask, and Sanguine has been an interesting look here. I'm a big fan of what Jacob does there, and he's been an important member of our community and see him stream a lot. It's just a kid I like to support. I really do like Jacob and his stupid Rams logo. But him and his team has found some important wins, and I would really like to see them kind of take Hype here because this is a team that they can beat, as you said.
Yeah, and I think Slice Kumquat, who you saw at the end there, I think his name's great, first of all.
It is really good.
One of the better names in the leagues that I've seen over the years. If it was a full Kumquat, he could be even better, potentially. But his position in the jungle is really good, and I think they're going to have to play for him quite a lot this game to find any victories, and it's more important with, trying to deal with what Layers is going to throw at them too.
That's always the question. Layers, one of the stronger players on the game of Smite, to be honest with you. On console, definitely. Yeah. And even as he kind of talks about PC players, you look at KP, Chaotic Purpose, Layers of Death, Layers of whatever his name is. The guy is scary. And the right side of the jungle becomes even scarier when you team him up with Wolves. Very, very difficult for teams to kind of deal with these players.
More importantly, though, I'm excited to see how the start of this game begins. We saw a little bit of PlayStation moments ago, and with what goes on there with the 2v1 situation of do you send your support to the solo lane, we'll see if we find out on the sticks here.
Could be a little bit interesting situation as we look for the players to kind of answer back. I want to see if we get an Odin ban. I cheer for an Odin ban versus Wolves every time.
I just wish you'd sing about the characters and the pigs and bands for us as they get locked in. How about that?
Oh, I didn't do any singing, actually.
Oh, did you not?
I only did
rapping. Is that what we called that?
Rapping. I aggressively spoke.
Let's do the rap of picks and bands.
Oh, no. They're not even ready yet.
You ready? Merlin, Yorm. Go on, keep going. I'm setting you up for the picks and bands. It'd be Merlin and Yorm bands. Can we go to picks and bands, please?
No.
I need time to.
Can we go to picks and bands, please?
I thought you were going to say P's and B's.
That's game 2.
Pretty please.
P's and B's, pretty please.
Okay. Sanguine, first pick. No real surprises with what they'll probably try to pick here, which will more than likely be a Merlin if it's available.
Most likely. The Shibalaki will be the first ban first and foremost. Hype Unit on the other side looking for something. And then Sanguine, I expect to ban out the Odin. Wolves has the Odin banned out versus him almost 100%.
Oh, even in the first phase?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Even in the first phase. That's how scared people are of Wolves as Odin.
Well, I mean, Wolves has had quite a few different gods in the solo lane that he's been very dominant on before. The Raven springs to mind, Osiris too. I don't think Odin's the one and only that you must ban against him. It's not like Johnny's. It's not like Johnny's Alquang.
Alquang.
You know what I mean? It's not that.
It
sort
was
of
once upon a time.
Sure.
And I think you're right that things have kind of drifted. But we have seen it banned out in the first phase. That said, the Jormungandr will be banned out. Hype Unit have a chance to respond. They banned out the Naja. It's going to be the Batman. So, Merlin, available.
Merlin is up and does Sanguine draft it because one thing that's going to happen in that situation, if Hype Unit are leaving it up, they know the opposition's probably going to select it, so they should have an answer for it.
Exactly. Usually when you see a power pick like this let through, the answer back is very, very quick. And so Hype Unit right now going to snap pick a Hachiman and think about what to pair that with potentially.
And obviously it's going to be a snap response of the Merlin. They just know overall in the draft how they're going to deal with this Merlin. They may not need to select like their mid lane now because they've got time to do so, but Achilles Hachiman isn't a terrible situation. If Achilles is up and gets through this, he's one of the most potent gods in professional play, at least, where the pros themselves are all of the opinion that Achilles is #1.
Both of these characters can chase down the Merlin after his flicker as well, so that's certainly something to think about. Jing going to come through as well for SNG, and as we have a sideline and a midline being selected, they're going to choose their third option.
I was going to say, so already looking at Sanguine there, with Merlin and Jingwei locked in, you already know they're relatively safe in the laning phase.
Right.
I mean, with Flicker at, what, level 2, level 3 tops for Merlin here, he's going to be pretty safe in the mid lane to be able to get away from a lot of issues, and Jingwei is Jingwei.
Knock her up, she dashes away, she can do that herself. It all works out for Jingwei. Vulcan here, the mid lane of choice for Hype Unit. Should be an interesting one. Vulcan, a high explosive character, and a guy that has kind of snuck up on us lately, being picked up a little more and more. Not exactly your preeminent tier 1 selection, but more players have been opting for the old man.
No, solid. I think he's like A.
That's
he's like old Agni. You know what I mean? Like I still think Agni's in that spot too, where he's great in the mid lane. He's pickable, but he's not like first pick material of like you must pick him every game.
I'll agree with that one.
And I think that's where a lot of the mid laners are outside of Merlin at the moment. And I think there's a chance Merlin's starting to be a little bit over prioritized. We'll see as time goes on.
Cabracan will be selected here, or banned out by SNG, and the Kepri banned out by Hype, and they'll follow that up with the Bear Bomb.
You didn't call it that. The thing was, one thing about the Erlang Shen here, though, I'm surprised by the Vulcan pick into an Erlang Shen, because Erlang's pretty good against Vulcan. Backfire is such a short-ranged ability that you've got to be quite up close, and you also can't use it if you're cripple-pinned. Erlang Shen's great at those close-quarter combats.
Not a bad look. Of course, Vulcan does have the knockup available to him, so he has that approach and can long-range ultimate. There's a couple of options, but no, I'm largely with you. I think Erlang Shen is a great look into the Vulcan, so picking Vulcan into the Erlang Shen that was there first, kind of questionable. But Terra will come through for Hype Unit, and Terra rarely questionable, as she's very effective.
I'm actually really liking both comps so far. I don't think either one's really gone wrong. A little bit suspect in a Susano pick into a Terra, which is always awkward for me because obviously she's immune to knockups. Obviously, it's not Susano's major focal point in this game, but I'm a little bit... What's this?
No, it's Terra getting stuck to the... She can't be
Oh,
pulled.
she's like...
She's on the ground.
I
I don't know
stuck.
why this is...
I know, that's why I was like, what's the animation for?
You know, stuck on the ground.
And then with the Chaac at the end, that's an interesting front line now. So Erlang Chaac to front line with Jingwei, Merlin support, and then Susano in and out dancing where needed.
The Chaac is very interesting. I think Chaac gives his team necessary team fight where it might not have had any earlier. Erlang Shen, Susano, Jingwei, Merlin, all these characters kind of looking for the little pick-off composition. Get a pick here, get a kill there, go ahead. Chaac is the only one that has this big AoE, big silence, make something happen. That said, we were talking about high execution comps before. This is a small window.
It is, but I do like Hype Unit's composition too. But the Ganesha's the last pick has really helped them out, especially with Chaac, Erlang, and Susano all want to get in close. Silences and the Dharmic Pillars are going to shut a lot of that down.
Hype Unit.
I'm leading Hype Unit.
Yeah, Hype Unit have a fantastic draft, and I'd be a liar if I didn't say that I agree with you, Hindu Man. But
how crazy is that, though, that we're talking against Sanguine, who got Merlin first pick?
Crazy. Look at that. But hey, draft is just that. Let's get to the battlefield. Casters, take us away.
Wow, that is so cool to be thrown into the game by the SMITE rap guy.
Wait, was that the...
That was him.
Oh, no.
That is him from the SMITE rap. That's so cool.
I can't believe I know him.
Isn't that awesome? Finch and Anatoly here. We're taking you into the game. Sanguine up against Hype Unit. Thank you, F. Hindu, for breaking it down for us on the desk. And I think they make a good point. Even though Sanguine have the Merlin on their team, it's hard for me to want to bet against Hype Unit, man.
I agree. I think the control is so sick. With Terra in the solo lane, Wolves is going to be able to outrank Truancii and Inbound, the two supports. And the Terra in a support role in itself is already obnoxious as it is. You put like hybrid items that deal damage and have defense, all of a sudden that Aegis is going to have to be popped more frequently.
Is Inbound the only one rocking the world champ tag? I'm pretty sure they all have it, right? Except maybe oBoronic? Because Griff, Layers, Wolves just won last year.
Oh yeah, Inbound did
Inbound
win
won with
season
Myth.
4. Yes.
Yeah. So they should. I thought they would all have it, but it's just Inbound that's rocking it now, as the two supports try and defend their buff, being invaded by JTask and Truancii, not going to make things easy for them, and the blue buff picked up by the Chaac. So they miss out on a bit of farm and a much-needed source of mana sustain.
So between the Chaac and the Erlang Shen, whenever you take 2-on-2 fights, the team or the 2-on-2 composition that comes out on top is the ones that have the better passive. Chaac gets free abilities and a little bit of cooldown reduction when he gets the 5 runes and then uses an ability, whereas Erlang Shen has an extra basic attack in the form of his little puppers.
Right.
Inbound on the Ganesha, not really using that passive in the 2-on-2 fight. And Wolves, yeah, preventing knockup, who cares?
Terra can feel good in that because she can
slow
as well. But I think if it's just her and another Guardian, it doesn't really matter how much you're slowed into another Ganesha auto, right? So it didn't really have much impact for him as JTask continues to bully. Though Inbound has made it over level 2, so things aren't too bad. Meanwhile, their hunters are having a pretty good time elsewhere. They're having to worry about these supports. Griff already level 3.
It's a race between the two hunters to see who pops off first. And Guardians versus Warriors, you're really looking at the base stats per level of Warriors just having more in-hand damage to be able to win those trades at the end of the day. JTask now being able to not only strip away the blue buff, but get their own blue buff to be picked up by Truancii, as he's going to be able to start rotating a little bit quicker than Inbound will.
These mid-harpies under siege. Kumquat and Teep are both here. So is Truancii as well, as he's already made it here to try and help contest. They'll go right back to farming, though, as everyone, for the most part, is stuck around the mid lane. Still, though, elsewhere.
Yeah, Hype Unit getting that one. And hey, look at that. oBoronic also rocking that world champion title.
Yeah.
As he should.
Yeah, they earned it. Okay, so oBoronic was on Astro then. My bad, oBoronic. I'm sorry.
oBoronic was the MVP as well, right? If I'm not mistaken.
That makes sense. He's very good. He's very good.
That's why they picked him up in the middle of the split.
They were right to do it. As a very strong player. I mean, really, this whole team is for Hype Unit. I say it time and time again that I consider them the bar to beat anywhere on console, so they are champs. Wolves, though, in a whole heap of trouble. He's able to get that first dash off, and the second Wolves makes his way out of there on the Terra. We can't say the same for the blue buff.
Oh, Layers trying to make it
Wait, did he get it?
There. It looks like it is grayed out. Yeah. He
Wow.
got the very last hit on the blue buff. But
Layers.
Wolves can't really go in there to pick it up without taking too much poke.
And he wants to make sure he's here for this mini wave. I think he should be able to go grab it after he clears his wave. But no, he's just going to back instead. If he teleports, he might still have time, but not if he goes to clear.
Now. Too late now, yeah. Because it takes 5 seconds to fully back and then about 4 seconds to teleport back into the lane. And that's 9 seconds out of the total 30 that it would be on the ground. And Wolves electing not even to pick that one up. After this wave, probably going to back and teleport with boots too.
That'll be the idea here for Wolves. Unfortunately, couldn't pick it up, but they at least defend that farm for themselves, which is just as important, though the MP5 is certainly nice. They'll take this opportunity to head back to base now, though, and then rejoin the team. And even if things are rough for Wolves on this Terra for a little while, I mean, later on, Sanguine are going to have a Chaac, and you guys know how I feel about Chaac, and Hype Unit's going to have a Terra. So, I mean, it just is going to favor Hype Unit.
You can't even compare those two in teamfight relevancy. Like, sure, you have a nice, 3-second silence on the ultimate with potential knockup, but that's about it. Like, a slowing
is just about
minefield
it.
with attack speed slow reduction, whereas Wolves has a root, a stun, damage mitigation, damage
Healing.
amplification, healing, damage over time.
It's just too much that he's able to do for the team.
Feels
And he can
good.
hit 10 people with it, you know, it's just really, really good. So, hard to outvalue Terra. And I don't mean that just for Chaac. I mean for just about anybody.
Sure.
So, she can be that strong. That's why you put Guardians over here in the solo lane, because if you can rotate them over here with farm, they can be in such a good spot. We always talk about it. Guardians are still strong. It's that support role farm that is weak, right? It's so hard for them to find efficient place to farm on the map. So if you get Guardians out of there, they're good.
That's true, but it's trickier to run the Guardians in the solo lane in Season 6 with the introduction of the Totem of Coup. That 125 gold every minute could eventually add up to give your team a slight advantage.
Layers wants to slay, but here's JTask showing the silence is not to be scoffed at. That hit all three and sets up for an easy wipe. They find the first 2 kills of the game. Now Wolves has to dash his way out of there, but they heard us making fun of the Chaac silence, and JTask put it to work.
Wow, that silence knock-up into Kumquat's Typhoon knock-up into the Merlin damage. Mr. Teep doing a lot of damage in that last little engagement. Great rotations all across the board from Sanguine, constantly keeping Wolves' blue buff in check. Whether or not they successfully invaded is not truly their objective. They just want to make sure that Hype Unit isn't going to get it cleanly.
And that's what's so impressive, is that they didn't secure it last time. So they were still able to keep track of that timer, still able to make sure they were there right on time with the heavier rotation, and they executed perfectly and got that punish. Just well executed there by Sanguine as they put Hype Unit a bit on the ropes, but that's still early. You might be okay, I think, with going behind a little bit this soon.
With especially Wolves going to have more tankiness coming up soon, more cooldown reduction. He's going to be the one engaging. That was a fight that Sanguine put on their own terms, not something that Hype Unit wanted to get off. They just want to make sure that they get the farm and get to late game form that they want. Mr. Teep's damage is good, but so will oBoronic as he approaches the late game. Now only having Book of Thoth, his power curve currently is rather low, but give him like 5 minutes or so to catch up.
That's a good point. Much like how JTask can't quite compare with the Terra, Merlin is really good, and as much as damage as Vulcan can do in a fight, it can't quite match what a Merlin can do. I mean, Merlin can even help you, in other areas too, so it's just tough to match that value. So maybe that's the kind of questions you have to ask. Is some of the places we had to make concessions, how do you balance that out as the game goes on?
So far, a good lead for Sanguine, getting about a 1,500 gold lead for Totem of Coup, so 500 gold of that just from that one objective, a couple of blue buff invades, the first blood, the second kill, and still looking for another blue buff invade.
A second storm call, and JTask strips that one away. Wolves and Layers had to run away with their tails between their ears. And really, it's impressive that Wolves has stayed this close, because I don't think he's gotten even a single mana buff to actually pick up yet.
That's true. Even the ones that they confirmed, he didn't want to go out of position to pick it up, and I don't fault him for that.
No.
Because they sometimes a death trap. And
you're exactly right.
That comes through just playing a lot of Smite in general and a lot of experience. So respect to him. Finishing off his Guardian's Blessing stack now. Going to have that 48 gold a minute to start playing catch-up.
Man, Talaria boots feel so good nowadays, don't they? I love them on these
so
junglers
good.
Especially, man. It's so much movement. You even get a little bit of the MP5 coming as well. So, I mean, it's a lot of love for these junglers in particular, even for the aggressive supports. As there's action in the middle lane, Layers in some trouble as well, but they might turn their target to Truancii, who gets outside of the Vulcan ult and drops an ultimate of his own. That's going to pull Inbound right back in. World champion or no, he's going down.
A little too aggressive and ambitious. Inbound, once he got taunted without the use of his dash, just dead to rights, even saving the sprint, knowing that there was no way out. The Typhoon really turning that fight on its head.
And really, Truancii did a great job baiting that time, too. He got a lot of cooldowns out, got Inbound to step a little bit too far forward, and got him back into the 9 turns Blessing. Easy pick.
Oh yeah, that's why Erlang Shen can be so flexible between jungle, solo, even support. The setup, ever since Eager back in Season 3 on Aurora played it in that support position, it's been always considered as the setup utility because of the base damage that you have with your abilities. You got your Erlang Shen passive that really helps in finding some of these kills, so you can get away with going a tank Erlang.
He's got 3 forms of CC. That's a lot, right? He can knock you up, he can root you, and he can taunt you in as well. So, I mean, he fits in, for me, into that support role quite nicely. And he can even heal himself up a bit to add some extra sustain. So, yeah, I mean, it makes total sense. And, of course, someone like Aurora would be amongst the first to recognize it, right? Yeah, no, guys, I'm supporting, he says, as he does, like, second most damage.
Darming Pillars being drawn by Inbound, really wanting to hold on to their blue buff. Terra using that ultimate as well, but not really hitting on most players.
JTask, though, was in some trouble. Fatal Strike somehow weaves through, but he can't find the actual target for the execute. But Hype Unit don't appear to be done just yet. Teep tries to hold them off, but Wolves finds a wall. But with the rest of Hype Unit falling back, they won't keep pressuring. Though this is a nice boon. It looks like Gryph has routinely been able to pressure out Bobby here in the 1v1.
They just wanted to defend their own blue buff. Finally, giving it for Wolves, picking it up as well. Truancii not done giving up the chase on the right side. Nothing to really strip away as Hype Unit were able to get their back camps and the blue buff. And you're so right, that dual lane has been favoring out Gryph. A 1-level lead about a 6-stack advantage, but after this wave is confirmed, Bobby will catch up in that regard.
Yeah, it should at least be normalized after that. But you're right, Sanguine pushed right back into the jungle, even though they got pushed out a moment ago, to at least try and take those back camps. It looks like they left one bird remaining, so Hyphen had to come in and clean that one up too to get the camp to reset. So some shenanigans coming out from Sanguine here so far, but overwhelmingly, this has been Sanguine's early game. Now, is it anywhere near enough? Just yet, it's not. It's too early to say. It's only 1,200 gold. They got to do more as Layers goes aggressive. This ultimate from oBoronic actually does end up hitting home onto Truancii is low.
That's true, but no other follow-up. Without the ultimate, he was without any sort of sustain or heals, but he'll get out safely, even sharing some of that speed buff golden experience out of Kumquat. And with Truancii having to back to base, maybe a slight window has been open for the Gold Fury, but without the Vulcan ultimate, it is such a risky call to make. And Hype Unit have been trying to clean up their play, knowing how close they are in the standings with Heat Uprise.
That's right. That's the real big story here in Xbox NA, is that Heat Uprise has been so close at Hype Unit. Like we said, the defending champs, for the large part, obviously, they've got Inbound here instead of Chapo, who is the support on that winning team. But you would have expected to be more distance. I mean, this isn't even the team, Heat Uprise, that they were second place against, right? That was like Matt Coy's team, Flashpoint, last year, that took them to the distance. So it's been very impressive how close Heat Uprise have been to Hype Unit.
JTask, really consistent about knowing when Wolves' blue buff is respawning. Every 2 minutes in general, as they're looking to be a grouping. 3-on-4 thus far. Still waiting on the last member, Kumquat, making it an even 4-on-4. Merlin dropping that Blizzard to zone out, look for a little bit of poke. Engagement onto Layers.
Truancii wants to get things started, but gets stunned out. Now the problem is Inbound on the Ganesha. He drops the Darming Pillars, and they actually find the first kill, but JTask turns a favor, but a big ultimate over the top brings Truancii low. Now they need some backup as 9 turns Blessing heals him up a little bit more. Turtle form allows him to retreat, and a big knockup from Kumquat creates the distance.
But a lot of ultimates being used defensively. Mr. Teep ultimately falling. The mid laner for Sanguine being traded out for Inbound. Only the support from Hype Unit. Favorable side goes to Hype Unit as they also confirm their blue buff for the second time in a row.
I don't think you feel too bad about that one at all if you're on the side of Hype Unit, as they finally are able to come out and at least stand toe-to-toe up against Sanguine. And to be honest, I mean, this lead really has all but normalized in terms of experience. The gold is still in favor of Sanguine, but yeah, I mean, look at right here on the charts. Gold favors Sanguine, but experience favors Hype Unit.
Still, because of Mr. Teep dying, that's a huge favor for oBoronic, getting multiple waves under that tier 1 mid tower, being able to deny a couple of experience as Mr. Teep. Dying at level 10 just kind of sucks. That timing window, because there's just so much farm available to you that it can really slow down your transition to get that second relic.
Oh, they don't know about this at all, totally. This is going down for free. Hype Unit have found a small gap in the timing for Sanguine and snuck away this objective. And so, yeah, let's go back and correct that. The experience favoring Hype Unit, and now the gold's even. There you go.
Very even now. Because so the only real advantage that Sanguine had was all these Totem of Coups. 7 of them total. Got them about, what, a 500 and then 875 gold lead. But then off of that, Gold Fury's basically been all Hype Unit, being able to defend their blue buffs after the 8-minute mark with all these rotations. That's when Earth and Fury starts making its impact. The power spike of the Stone of Binding, adding more penetration to every C-Seed member, becomes easier to start chipping and whittling away of some of the health bars.
And I like that Wolves was willing to go for that. I thought he'd go into the breastplate right away.
Same.
Into JTask and Kumquat. It's such a critical item for them, but he was willing to wait on it, and he's been rewarded. 1-0-0, and just about even in farm. He's not so far behind that it matters, really. I think he's been rewarded.
I agree. I think Stone of Binding is a good power play in terms of knowing when team fights are happening. If you know that you can wait out a long time, then Breastplate of Valor keeps yourself alive more frequently against a double physical warrior/assassin. But hold that thought, action around the fire.
And it's Truancii who's low, but a big Vulcan ultimate comes through. Doesn't quite bring anyone low. Kumquat strikes first blood of this engagement. In fact, he gets double as Inbound and Wolves both go down. It's just the carries left, and Layers wants to even the score, but Fatal Strike juked. Kumquat with the slick moves gets back out. At the very least, Griff, though, can try and answer back and left.
Gets 500 gold under the tier 1 tower. Still pushing a little bit further. BMBobby having to rotate to look to defend the tier 2. JTask going to get knocked back by oBoronic, but that Vulcan ultimate was so close,
yeah.
to turning the tide. Also a great juke from Kumquat, because if Layers hits the Fatal Strike, he continues the chase. He looks for more poke, trying to get the reset, and the second hit, maybe finding another execute for the third.
Unfortunately, though, it was just off the mark, and just when Hype Unit make a big play by grabbing the Gold Fury, Sanguine answer back with a big fight around the FG. And that's not an area we always see a ton of engage, especially this early. The left side of the map is just considered more valuable at this point, with easier to take objectives. But that skirmish really favored Sanguine, at least in terms of kills. It's been all order side so far, 6-1.
Most of it comes down to the different ultimates from the junglers. Kumquat's Typhoon have just controlled more space, and Layers has been missing some of these Fatal Strikes. If he connects on them, then that's a different story, but thus far, Kumquat, more success rate, just hitting the jumpers.
You know, as long as he's at 0 kills, it's really easy to tell how many Fatal Strikes he's landed, at least for executes,
yeah,
right?
There you go.
Right now, there's none. So so you're definitely correct. He hasn't been able to hit them home just yet. That's not to say he hasn't been making his impact. I think Layers has been everywhere. But it's such a big difference when you're able to consistently hit those executes in fights. I mean, it could be all 5 of them if you can chain them together, technically. So that's really critical. As Pyromancer now at least being considered by Sanguine. They do have a couple members of Hype Unit nearby, though, to worry about as Wolves get spotted out, and they'll give up the Ghost.
Inbound definitely knew about it, with the ward being there right underneath the Pyromancer. Everyone from Sanguine casually walking over that one. Wolves rotating over alongside oBoronic, getting zoned away by JTask. Layers in the mid lane. Going to see a little bit of a 4-on-4 scuffle on the right side as Griff thinking about if he wants to rotate middle or to keep the pressure in the duo.
It shouldn't be too hard for him. He's already gotten this tier 1 tower. He can push up a bit and then buy some space. But I think their eyes might be on this red buff instead, and Griff's just keeping BMBobby away from contesting it. It'll be Layers the furthest forward there as the buff actually spawns, but Bobby's made his way in. So is Truancii. This won't be free. The buff's stolen away. But Hype didn't want the fight as well. They locked down Truancii and the Dharma Pillars to cut him off. But a good ultimate from Truancii pulls Inbound back in, along with the damage from Merlin. And that's it for Kumquat, but a good silence doesn't stop JTask.
JTask is able to clean up Typhoon. Going to keep Layers a little bit in check. A lot of damage about to be received. Mr. Teep forced to Aegis that one.
And that keeps him alive. A stun comes through as well, but it just isn't enough. Hype Unit found the red buff, but it cost them the life of their Ganesha. And now the question becomes, how much more do they want to try and grab on the back end of this fight? There's definitely some low health bars from Sanguine if they can get in close. Storm Call from JTask keeps Griff out, but Truancii takes too much poke damage from this Hachiman. Mountain Archery hits just about everyone as well, but it's Griff in trouble as BMBobby returns the favor.
Wow, so much damage on. Look at the health bars. Kumquat actually gets taken out by Layers. Make that a double, almost a triple, missing the fatal.
Couldn't quite find it, and he's going to make his way out of there. A double, though, is not too bad to at least come in. That actually puts the numbers back in their favor, as Hype Unit really only lost Inbound, and they were the aggressors who stole the red buff. Sanguine eventually got too low, and Layers found his way in.
I was about to say, like, there were 4 members from Sanguine, all in the red. The fact that only 2 of them died is still a little surprising to me. Hype Unit getting a little bit more on the board. They've been slow to start this game, but they're still on even pacing. They're getting the objectives when it matters. They got a 13-minute Gold Fury and now an 18-minute Pyromancer.
So far, Hype Unit, despite being down the kills, have done a great job controlling the game. Now, oBoronic, but I don't think he got a way in on this one. I like you keeping an eye on it and staying back. No way he'd be able to make it into contest. So just let his team know that that's where all of Sanguine were, and they could try and regroup around it. But this has been a close match, back and forth, with Hype Unit controlling the objectives better, but Sanguine just fighting better.
Yeah, Hype Unit giving up that Oni Fury, surprising. Like, when you see it on the mini-map and you're thinking, okay, do we go for the Oni Fury or the Pyromancer? You want to be on the left side of the map, especially 18 to 19 minutes in, when it's difficult to really lock down the Fire Giant, because the chances of you losing Oni Fury while you're doing Pyromancer is very high. The chances of you losing Fire Giant while you're doing Oni Fury at this point in the game, very low.
Yeah, not nearly as potentially punishing as they clear up these Oni waves. Those are the ones that just met in the middle lane now on the order side. So once those are cleared, the threat is gone. I talked about how Sanguine have more kills, but they are all, for what it's worth, on Inbound. He's 0-5-1. There's a couple, one on Wolves, one on Layers, of course. But for the most part, it's been this Ganesha they've been killing, and he's not even behind Truancii. He's relatively even.
He's not worried about it. The more kills you have on the same target, the less gold they become valuable, or
That's
worth
true.
rather. So if there's ever more deaths at a hype unit, they want it to be onto Inbound, honestly. They want to keep everyone else from hype unit relatively safe, and this is where it could get harder to kill anyone on hype unit, knowing that level 16 Terra for Wolves has more sustain, going for the Oni Hunter garb, Inbound on the level 13 Ganesha is getting more tanky, fully finished stacking that Gauntlet of Thebes with the Sovereignty, going for the Sprint and the Shell.
You gotta wonder, at what point is Stormcall's value gonna reach its peak in this match, totally? Once more relics are on the table, once you have more items where you can even just burn the Chaac while he's channeling, it becomes less and less viable as Inbound manages to dash through to get away from Truancii. And Terra, on the other hand, is just getting scarier and scarier.
Oh yeah, sitting at level 17 now. Both Hunters level 20. They've been left alone the entire game. Bobby did a better job rotating in a lot of these team fights as a result of losing his tier 1 duo tower. Not the worst trade in the world. I think Bobby was in the right there. Losing the tier 2 definitely would have been problematic, but Gryph not wanting to overextend.
Looks like some late game crit coming out from Gryph as well as he works on the short sword. I imagine this will be the range at this point. Doesn't have any other crit from any other sources to bump up his crit chance. But yeah, that's Achilles damage, ladies and gents, and BMBobby caught the brunt of it. That was without the execute too. He manages to make it out of there. But Truancii wants to return the favor, lands the root on the layers, but the Erlang Shen not enough by himself.
Yeah, you got to respect the level 20 Hachiman. That's going to be using that Eagle's Eye from a distance safely just to poke you out. Plenty of attack speed with the oboe. That's about to be synergized with the crit. I would assume that it is going to be the rage as well. Trying to hit a great late game power curve by getting the rage to build the critical strike chance and then synergizing that with the critical strike damage in the Deathbringer.
Certainly couldn't hurt, and he'll still have plenty of attack speed despite going crit, especially if you go into the meaty crit like Rage, Deathbringer, and not Wind Demon, Poison Star. You can be missing on attack speed some.
Sure.
The Odibo kind of covers up that gap a little bit. That's 40% by itself.
And I like when crit is built later on in the game after seeing where the second relics are.
Right.
When there's no thorns to worry about, since you can't sell relics and you can't exchange them for anything, like that's when you really want to pick up crit, that the non-reflect damage that you don't have to worry about.
Team fights have slowed down a bit these last few minutes as Hype Unit starts to move at least over to the Fire Giant side of the map, though I doubt they're really ready to pull it. But look how much more vision they have. They have the Fire Giant pit itself covered, even the top part of it on their side, and even a couple of regular wards pushed beyond for info on where Sanguine is, so they know JTask is moving up and that nearby is Truancii, though they will lose the sentry over this Fire Giant itself. Hype units still have a good amount of information.
Sanguine were able to really control the team fights in the early portion of the game, but this could be Hype units' time to shine of how they can really start forcing the fights. Last time, it was Bobby trying to make a play onto Truancii. They almost got a kill in that regard, a little bit of a missed abilities, but now Layers looking to play setup. JTask going to take a little bit of poke.
I think he's already used the heal too, so won't be getting a lot of that back, at least right now, but it doesn't end up mattering. They're not going to chase him, and he'll certainly have plenty of time to heal it up now. Hype Unit are trying to find a way in because neither team really has a big claim to pulling this Fire Giant right away. Like, both teams have plenty of steal potential and can afford to take this fight in the jungle. So maybe trying to force some fights elsewhere and get some picks.
Something I'm not liking at a Hype unit is there only one anti-healing item, Divine Ruin on oBoronic. No Pestilence, no Brawler's Beat Stick. Whereas you're looking at the opposite end, Sanguine, Pestilence onto JTask. You got Brawlers onto Kumquat, Divine Ruin on Mr. Teep. Even a Cursed Ankh on the Chaac solo lane trying to make sure that this Terra is going to be mitigated.
It's a lot of anti-healing they've committed on, so certainly they'll limit what the Terra can do as now the Gold Fury is indeed under siege. Sanguine are nearby, so they won't allow this to go for free, though it is already down below half HP. They got to get in sooner rather than later, but the objective leashed, and perfect timing from Layers to come in the backside. He looks for Teep. Meanwhile, a big Typhoon goes through the back end of the fight, but Teep has too much damage and Layers goes down.
The Blizzard from a distance finding the first pick of the engage. No one else besides Layers were on him.
They're going to drop a Stormcall as well, but an ultimate over the top comes through from oBoronic, and that brings them low. Gryph goes back in. oBoronic finds one of his own, but it's 2 for 2 so far, but the health bars favoring Hype Unit until Teep comes in and finds some good damage. He's aggressive even through the Aegis. Gryph goes down.
Wolves was looking for a little bit more, but he's just out of range from finding that. But look at this, Oboronic with a kill of his own, saying, whatever Teep can do, I can do better.
He's able to find plenty of damage. It's still the 2 for 2, but Teep is so low. He's actually out of this fight at this point, so it should be over. I don't know that Oboronic and Wolves can really do this. So yeah, Wolves is backing.
They're baiting.
They're giving up on this one. I don't know if they want to though, but
well, JTask is by himself at a 75% health. The Chaac at this point against a level 19 Vulcan is going to take a lot of damage, but it's only 4 items on Oboronic. And look at this. JTask feeling very confident starting this objective 25 minutes in.
And he's got Teep here to back him up. Wolves recognize that they're on the objective, so won't be free. He's got the walls, comes through with the root first, and walls goes on to the actual damage dealers. So the Gold Fury is indeed leashed. A huge play from Wolves, but in comes Truancii in the mink form, but can't quite get close enough.
That's his dash, but Layers not wanting to overextend and put himself out of position. He still remembers what happened last time up against Mr. Teep that was just barely able to finish off the deed with the one last hit of that Blizzard tick.
What a back and forth match this has been between Hype Unit and Sanguine. Xbox NA really is competitive from top to bottom, and it's looked that way so far here today. Hype Unit, though, still feel like they can be the ones that can try and play aggressive, even though they are falling back for now. Sanguine and the rest of the team trying to come reestablish some vision control over the Fire Giant that's been lost after a sentry was placed there. But I think this Gold Fury might still be the point of contention.
At 26 minutes in, this is where it could be risky, giving up the Fire Giant, starting up this objective, but plenty of vision on the right side for Hype Unit. A sentry ward right at the Pyromancer. Gold Fury being started, 25% health. Truancii trying to do what he can.
They drop down the Dharmic Pillars, though. That's great from Inbound to keep everyone zoned away. Meanwhile, Truancii finds a 3-man taunt in the back end, but there's no one to follow up. He's next to Threshold, but gets the heal off, and that sends Inbound packing, at least for now. Fatal strikes down from Layers as well. He gets deleted on the back end. Teep has way too much damage.
Bobby's forced to airstrike away defensively. Teep is so dangerously low. Wolves going to force to retreat while the rest of his team going to be finishing off that Gold Fury.
Well, even without Layers, they're the ones trying to pull this Gold Fury. Truancii loops all the way around the back end and right down Broad Street is JTask battling it out with Wolves. Not much kill potential there, but Truancii might change things. So he takes a big shot from Griff and realizes he's got to get out of there. Now the crits are coming through and JTask removed. Shard and Divine Ruin say hello.
Oh, that meatball from a distance. A good shot there to find the kill onto JTask. Now in a 4-on-4. Griff in a 1v1 scuffle up against Kumquat. The Heavenly Banner not enough to seal the deal, but it's the Jing in trouble instead.
Truancii in some trouble as well, also with a low HP bar. Hype Unit have forced them out yet again, and now they pull the Gold Fury back for themselves. Sanguine have done good to hold on this long, but they just couldn't keep up. Gold Fury goes down for Hype Unit. Though if I'm being honest, 28 minutes into the game, I mean, that's not the end of the world.
No, I'm definitely not worried about it if I'm Sanguine losing that Gold Fury. It was a long, hard-fought battle. Losing 1-for-1, trading your soul laner for the support. The dives have to be more calculating in terms of the later stages of the team fights. There's like 3 to 4 different waves of engagement. First wave favors out Sanguine, second wave favoring out Sanguine, but then that third and fourth wave, they didn't have Mr. Teep where they needed him to, and ultimately Jacob fell.
Kumquat, though, winning the 1v1 up against Layers so far on the right side. Meanwhile, in mid, Oboronic already low. Aegis only buys him a second as Teep burns him down. The Merlin so far has been a nightmare, 6-1 and 6, way up at the top in terms of player damage. And Inbound's got to run as well. Sanguine send Hype Unit on their heels.
I think that they can start up the Fire Giant as a result. Even seeing a couple of Hype Unit members back. Wolves has teleport. Where is he going, though? Looking like it's the Pyromancer instead. Sanguine kind of waffling between these two objectives.
Pyromancer being burned as well. Sanguine have now grabbed the objective, and Hype Unit can't quite defend. JTask did a great job zoning them out. Totally, this has been like 5 or 6 straight minutes just back and forth fighting. I mean, why have these matches been so close? Neither one of these teams can find a convincing win so far.
Honestly, I'm not sure why it's been this close, because Hype Unit should be able to win them a little bit more. Inbound getting picked off several times in the early game, but now in the later stages, Oboronic can't get in position to deal the damage that he needs to. Like, it's on to JTask, yes, but every single ultimate that he's been throwing out has been Aegis. no one else out of Hype Unit can force out those Aegises to make Boronic's Vulcan more effective.
And Boronic's ultimates have all been largely just kind of reading where the team fight's going. He's not getting a ton of setup to allow for him to land. Now, for what it's worth, he's been hitting them anyway, just by understanding where the team fights are. But like you said, they've been getting immuned and Aegis and avoided for the most part. So maybe that is part of it. They can get a big ultimate from Boronic. That might finally break the back of Sanguine as the Tier 1 tower in mid goes down. But they want this fight to Hype Unit. In comes Wolves, and the Terra's blessing is just way too strong. Layers finds Teep as well, and he keeps the Fatal Strike going. They only have JTask, Kumquat, and Truancii left.
Good root onto Truancii, but it's not enough to really force the engage backwards. Sanguine forced to retreat. 2 dead members. Hype Unit in a 5-on-3 power play now.
Yeah.
A good ultimate this time from Boronic really sealed the deal.
Layers and Wolves got in there right away, too, and never let Sanguine disengage from Tier 1. That means Fire Giant now in the menu. So look at this. JTask is teleported to the backside, so he certainly has some steal potential if he can make his way in. They know he's there now. They won't slow down the DPS. They take the Fire Giant, and JTask never has a chance. In fact, now he's gifted his life away. A big win for Hype Unit.
Oh, that's going to be one free kill. Unless Truancii has something to say about it. With Kumquat, he gets rooted, has to Jetstream away safely. Hype Unit, you give them an inch, Finch. Hey, that rhymes. And they'll take a mile.
They absolutely will. Rage now finished for oGryph and the Deathbringer there too. So just amongst those 2 items, he's going to be swinging a ton in terms of extra damage there from the crit. And there's really not much except for this last pickup of Nemean from JTask to try and deter him from swinging on who's ever in front of him with that crit. oGryph's damage has already skyrocketed up to the most in the game, even above Teep.
And he was actually like in the top of his own team, just underneath Teep for the majority of this game. You asked me like, why is this game so close? Hype Unit was not in their final form of item selection. They were hitting power curves that were heavily invested in the 28+ minute mark between the Rage Deathbringer for oGryph. This Book of Thoth rush from Boronic to start off the game heavily hurt his early game. Now with Soul Reaver in the 5th item slot, that's when his damage is really starting to shine, playing catch up.
Right, he needs to get some more mana from items to try and synergize with that. Choose a Focus provides some, but yeah, that's Soul Reaver. And then I imagine, what, Book of the Dead that he might be working on next?
I almost would like to see Polynomicon potentially.
Oh, sure, that could work too. As long as he's got some mana coming from it, it could certainly be strong.
Tier 2 tower in the soul lane, not going to be looked at. I like the split idea from Layers, trying to get 1,500 gold there while the rest of his team using this enhanced Fire Giant on the left side, but keeping it clean and safe by going for the Tier 2 towers.
Well, they still have left Layers over there and right, so he should be able to get that Tier 2. I don't think they have anyone that can come over to defend it in time. Kumquat considering, but it's way too late. That Tier 2 tower is also theirs. Now Hype Unit can threaten the Tier 2 in mid, and Sanguine would have to decide if it's even worth putting up a defense. But it looks like it's not. It's only JTask there, the Tier 2 tower, and mid is gone. And they'll instead play around these Phoenixes. And now, how well does Hype Unit siege versus the defense from Sanguine? I mean, Merlin's got to be good on the defense.
Oh, absolutely, especially with Gem of Isolation. Divine Ruin to mitigate some of the healing. He is playing a little bit of a utility role, but that's not hurting his damage numbers at all.
No.
He's still very successful in that regard. I like how conservative Hype Unit are about not going for the Phoenixes yet after that Primal Fury. Believe that was the second one of the game. That gives them so much gold to spend now, finishing off what was a Book of the Dead now out of Boronic, trying to keep himself alive a little bit longer in these engagements.
Yeah, they had somewhere around, what, 5,000 global gold, like as a team after all that, so might as well go back and spend it. They're now out in front by nearly 12,000 gold, 12,000 experience as well. The experience means little to nothing at this point. Everyone's level 20, and the gold will matter in terms of who's able to start selling off some of these items and pick up the Elixir of Speed at this point. It looks like oGryph has made it there already. He went to Ken's size as that last item for him. That's going to add a ton of extra damage.
Oh, he's feeling very pretty after that one. He doesn't even really need the Titan's Bane, already having the Executioner, so he's going to be really starting to swing on JTask and Truancii. That's still with their boots quite now.
They still have them, at least for now, as you said, so still a bit of an advantage in favor of Hype Unit for now. And this is the time to try and play with on this left side Phoenix. Again, this is the furthest Phoenix from the Fire Giant, the one they absolutely want if they can make their way in. And they do start to barricade in, immediately inbound silences to keep Hype Unit zoned out. But that push wasn't enough, they fall back.
Wolves was trying to find setup onto Bobby with a stun, a little bit off the mark, so they're going to look for round 2 on the reset. About 5 seconds until this wave enters the Phoenix line.
They're going to step forward yet again, but look at that Merlin damage over the wall. Griff well below half HP, but Teep is low too. Big ultimate from Vulcan. That forces out 2 Aegises from the carries, but can they get away? Kumquat had a big Typhoon that knocked out the whole squad. They just couldn't follow up.
The one-on-one on the right side. Layers can't really break the wall. That is Truancii. But it's an interesting one-on-one because when you look at a 4-1 split, normally the one individual member is closer to the 4, but this time it's on complete opposite sides of the map. So taking out a lot of CC is Truancii in this engagement. Without his knock-up, taunt, or root, it makes it easier for oBoronic to feel at ease, Griff to get off those eagle-eye shots from a distance.
But Hype Unit couldn't find a Phoenix with that first Fire Giant. To be fair, that's fine. They'll be able to come over and try and grab this second and push there. They got all 3 tier 2 towers, you know, Primal Fury as well, so a ton was gained from it, even without that Phoenix, and now they can look to try and break this base if they can grab the enhanced FG. But without a Phoenix down, Sanguine can afford to step up and try and defend.
I don't know about that one, Finch, because there's no defensive relics on Mr. Teep, still down for 90 seconds, about 110 seconds for Bobby's Aegis, a great ultimate from oBoronic forcing out those couple of relics.
That's a great point. Teep's going to be a vulnerable target if they choose to stick around for this defense. And with Kumquat and Teep both backing, maybe they aren't. They're still going to keep JTask and Truancii nearby and show some face, so Hype Unit don't exactly know how many people are down here and just how many are lurking in the wings, but they haven't pulled it yet. There's going to be time for Sanguine to come up and put up a full-on defense.
They definitely could. Older Phoenixes are up, especially with BMBobby proccing his oboe very safely there, but Wolves starting to force the issue.
He goes in aggressively. Bobby's already forced to use his beads too. Ultimate almost catches Truancii, but good juke boots. But Kumquat immediately brought down low. That's the ultimate hitting him. The Earth and Fury, and a little bit of help from Layers brings him low too. JTask now in trouble, but Griff has him handled. Truancii does use the 9 turns blessing, but a big wall comes out. They're at least able to find Teep, but Truancii skates by. Hype Unit now on the right side, Phoenix.
Oh, Bobby forced the airstrike to prevent the slow from the Dharmic Pillars in a 5-on-2. I don't know if Hype Unit even need the Fire Giant.
They are going to come down and grab this right side Phoenix for sure. And they're going to keep right on pushing. The duo lane from Sanguine, BMBobby and Truancii, the only 2 members still standing to try and keep this Titan alive. And Hype Unit aren't going to make it easy for them. They barrel right through. Layers gets the stun, and Bobby is a distant memory. They're going to go right into Truancii as well. Big time crits from Griff, and they send him back to base. That's a deicide. Titan goes down 2, and Hype Unit grab game 1.
Hype Unit struggled early, but they finished off clean. BMBobby and Truancii were not enough to hold. No beats, no Aegis, no life for the bird.
That was a really big play, I have to say, from Hype Unit on the right-hand side. They didn't even really go for the Fire Giant. They just pushed forward and took the fight. And like you highlighted, man, there just weren't enough relics from those carriers. It had to be a safe fight for them around the FG. And they got a big ultimate at the start of that fight, too. They were able to take Kumquat out of that very quickly.
The zoning was impressive from Wolves, dropping the walls appropriately. Everyone had to retreat after the Earth and Fury, catching several members with the root. The team fights were split up also. Layers blinking into that back line, creating a lot of havoc for Mr. Teep.
Yeah, that was definitely a problem for them, was keeping those fights too spread out. Hype Unit, though, man, despite things not looking exactly in their favor, they hung on to that one, fought their way back in it, and they were able to grab the W. That's just one, though. They need 2. Let's get it back to the desk.
May 13th. And this one looking pretty damn strong. Tom and Graham here breaking it down for you as Hype Unit find themselves in the driver's seat. One more game and one more victory.
Did look like that on paper, though. When we looked at pits and bands at the start, I felt like it was leaning Hype Unit's way, but all credit to Sanguine for that performance in the early game. Bad news is, though, 20 minutes in, game was even. It could have gone either way. Overall, Hype Unit just played it much better.
Real clean stuff, and this is kind of what we expect out of them. Real good Vulcan play out of the mid lane. oBoronic has been one of the standouts in this league for a number of years at this point. I can safely say that. So oBoronic's been doing it, and then you look at the role of Bobby on Inbound, kind of returning to the console league. Build, we were talking about it off screen, and there's some question marks, but at the end of the day, man, hey, I'm not going to argue with the results. And if Layers can just continue to do that,
I mean, it was good plays throughout. Missed Teep, though, on that Merlin caused a lot of problems for them throughout this game. And we were saying that. They got Merlin first pick. Well, that means they must have an answer if they're going to leave it available. At the end of the day, they just used their superior, well, playing skill, it felt like, their confidence in themselves to find the W there.
Look at that. That's also got to be a little bit, what's the word? Intimidating. If you're playing with player names on it, you just see World Champion Inbound, World Champion Layers, World Champion Oboronic barreling down the lane at you.
Makes me want to farm him more. That's all it is. It means I'll kill 3 world gems now if I get the kills. I will say, though, we spoke about the build real quick. Inbound Gem of Isolation. Don't get it. Doesn't make too much sense to me. If you think about Ganesha, his first ability is the only real one that can hit multiple targets and apply that slow. Your ult already does that. So why would you get something that does it some more? It doesn't make sense.
A little bit strange there. The Pythagoras piece also begging the question, only one basic attack here. I guess
okay
Layers
with
is going to get it.
Python.
I don't hate it. I don't love it. But like I said...
Just the gem is the only thing where I'm like, all right, Bobby, I don't know what you're playing at there, but you still won, so I won't complain too much.
Exactly. Critical Strike, and I'm just seeing this. Oh, they're lucky I'm just seeing this. Gryph with the attack speed, the crit.
And the chins?
And the chins.
I know a lot of people are against that, but I mean, chins is percentage health in one item.
But you've built into crit, the crit or the chins, because so and here's the deal, not that you need the lesson, but
I do.
All right, so when it comes down to it, you're building critical strike.
Can you
strike.
Wrap it for me.
Critical. No. You almost...
I thought you were going to go with that. I thought you were actually going to go critical strike. It's the worst. Don't get chins.
Critical strike. It's built on power. So what happens is a critical strike is a multiplicative result of a basic attack. So you basic attack somebody, and if it crits, it does a percentage of the amount of damage it was going to do more so. And that percentage is all based on power. So you're going to hit really heavy based on how much power you have. Whereas when you're looking at Chinsai, it'll always do a percentage amount of damage. Doesn't matter if you have 1,000 power or 1 power, it'll do the same amount of damage. So how do you amplify that? You amplify that by way of attack speed. So if critical strike scales off of power and Shin size scales off of attack speed, and you have a limited amount of itemization space, you need to choose one. If you're going to build critical strike, you need to build power. If you're going to build Shinsai, you need to build attack speed.
But he's got Executioner Audibo.
Sure, Executioner is a given because that's going to be your anti-armor, your penetration. And the Odibo, sure. But I need to see more of an investment because that Chinsai, if that's an item that contributes either power or penetration to the overall critical strike build, you're going to hit harder and do more damage via critical strike. Or if those critical strike items are attack speed, you're going to do more damage with your Chinsai. You got to kind of pick and choose.
He did 34,000 player damage.
Yes. Absolutely. And he would have done 40,000 if Chinsai was a different item.
I'm less offended by that than I am with the Gem of Isolation. That's why I'm like, okay, you want a soapbox on that? I get it.
That's one of my that's one of my pet peeves.
It's pen and attack speed with chins is what you expect to see, but we've got a big mixture of both.
It's one of my pet peeves, you know.
We all have them.
Well, it's like a square peg in a round hole. You're not gonna. It doesn't fit. You're building up.
You just force it.
Yeah,
that's how I build things most of the time.
Well, I mean, it's maybe a more apropos sentence would be you're looking at a car, filling it with diesel versus gasoline.
Oh, does that break your car?
Yes.